Okay, this is more three-voice practice. Our attorneys, we have Mr. Nichols for the plaintiff and Mr. Moore for defense. I am plaintiff attorney, Mr. Nichols.
I am the witness.
I am defense attorney, Mr. Moore.
Begins with a question by Mr. Nichols for the record. Please state your full name
Diana Sue Highland,
and your mailing address.
217 Westover Drive, Oakland, California, 94691.
What is your business or occupation?
I'm a rehabilitation counselor.
And by whom are you employed?
State of California, Department of Rehabilitation, Green, Wilson and Associates, and San Francisco State University.
Okay, those are all current places of employment,
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, what do you do at the state of California?
I'm a rehabilitation counselor
And how long have you had that position?
since 1975.
All right, how much of your work life is devoted to that endeavor?
60%.
Okay, what office do you work out of?
The Pleasant Hill Administrative District.
And how much of your work life is taken up by Green, Wilson and Associates in Berkeley?
About 20%.
And what is the nature of that work?
Workers' compensation, rehabilitation.
You develop rehabilitation programs for injured workers.
Correct. And also do some medical case management as well,
And who are your primary employers in that line of work?
meaning primarily who are we retained by?
Applicants or defendants?
Usually we are agreed upon, or I don't know, a lot of our business comes from insurance firms like State Compensation Insurance Fund or Liberty Mutual, Cigna, CNA, Industrial Indemnity,
Okay, what is the remaining work percent?
litigation consultation.
And is there an employer name for that?
No,
Just Diana Highland?
correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
Since 1982,
And in that 20% of your work life, is it divided amongst plaintiff and defendants in some percentage?
yes,
What is the percentage?
about 50-60% plaintiff and the balance defense.
Is your educational background and training accurately summarized here in Exhibit 1, which is your resume?
Yes,
Okay, is there anything that you are aware of that is not contained on that resume concerning your educational background and training?
I don't keep in-service and out-service training as a part of my resume, so those are not there. With the exception of that, everything is there.
Okay, when were you first retained in this case?
In May of 1991,
And by whom were you retained?
By me.
Was that by a telephone call?
It was actually a telephone call with Mark Kramer, my paralegal.
What was discussed at that time?
the name of the plaintiff, a little bit of the nature of the case, his age, and telephone contact numbers.
And you are referring to an 8.5 by 11 yellow sheet of paper in your file?
Correct, sir.
Is that your first notation concerning this?
Yes, sir.
Had you worked with Mr. Moore on prior occasions?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
Oh, 5 or 6, I believe.
Do you remember the names of those cases?
No,
None of them?
I don't think I do.
Have you testified in either deposition or trial on behalf of Mr. Moore on any occasion?
Sort of. I'm sure that the answer to that in deposition is yes, and once in trial when Mr. Moore did the trial, but I wasn't hired by Mr. Moore.
Who were you hired by in that case?
Mr. Harris.
He is a partner of the firm.
Correct.
What was the name of that case in which you testified in trial?
Bunker versus Tobin.
And when was that case tried?
April of 1990 or 1989, but I think 1990.
What were the injuries in that case?
Catastrophic. Ms. Bunker was comatose and vegetative.
All right. And you have also been deposed in Mr. Moore's cases in the past?
I think, yes. I can't tell you the names of them, but I would say the answer is yes.
None come to mind, but if they do, I will tell you.
None come to mind, but if I do, they will tell you. I will tell you, that was my line.
Sorry. How about retention by Mr. Moore's firm, other than the one you mentioned where you were retained by Mr. Harris? How many total times do you think you have worked for the Cartwright firm?
Since 1982, 30 to 35 times, I would say.
All right. And of those 30 to 35 times, can you recall testifying in trial more than the one time in the bunker case in Modesto?
Yes.
How many times do you think you testified in the trial?
2 others that I can think of.
Okay, on Exhibit 2, this one page of notes that you have of your conversation with Mark Kramer, did you receive or record any further information on your first contact by Mr. Moore's office other than what is shown on Exhibit 2?
No.
What was the next action you took on this case after that telephone conversation of May 21st?
I made arrangements to meet with David in his home in Manteca.
Okay, and when was that done?
June 29th of 91.
Do you have some notes concerning that?
I do.
June 29th?
Yes.
Let's mark those next in order. You have handed me 4 pages of handwritten notes dated June 29th, and we have marked them Exhibit 3. Are these the complete notes that you made on your meeting with David?
Yes.
Prior to this meeting, had you received any written information about David?
I don't believe so.
No medical records, no depositions, anything like that?
Not prior to my meeting with him.
All right, and are these notes primarily your notes of an interview that you conducted?
Correct.
At that time, did you do any testing?
No.
You have had occasion to have testing done at some point in time, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, did you examine David's physical condition at all on that June 29th meeting?
I would say observe is probably a better word than examine.
Yes.
You observed him move about the apartment?
Right.
That's basically the essence of it.
I observed him do things like try to get a glass of water or a soda of some kind and try to pull the pop top with his hands, and just his general scarring and disfigurement.
Were these things that you asked him to perform on your behalf or just incidental things during the course of your interview?
Incidental.
And how long did this interview of June 29th take?
Oh, I would say about an hour and 40 minutes, 45 minutes in that range.
Was anyone else present?
His girlfriend was in and out during the course of the interview, as was his father.
What was his girlfriend's name?
I don't recall.
Did she have any input into the interview?
No.
Did the father have any input into the interview?
No.
Did you check with either of them to confirm or deny any of David's statements to you?
No.
Near the bottom of page 1, we can just look on this together. You have some notes of dollar amounts of things. Uses high top shoes, $80. That's a figure you got from David?
Correct.
You understood those to be normal Nike high-top shoes, or were they orthopedically fitted shoes?
They were not specially fitted, but they were the high top variety, and that's the report of what he had paid for them.
Did he indicate that those were suitable for his daily use? Did they pose any problems to him?
He was having a lot of problems with his prosthesis and his stumps when I was there, but he didn't attribute those to the shoes, so it was hard to tell what was giving him the problems.
It was more of a problem with the prosthesis themselves.
He was having more problems with the stump and the fitting of the stump. I can't say it was really the prosthesis, but the interaction between the prosthesis and the stump, that was problematic for him at the time.
Okay. Did you ask him what sort of household chores or duties he could perform?
I don't believe so. Specifically in terms of household stuff, I don't think I did.
Have you ever gotten any history of that from him?
Well, he made some, references in passing, like his dad was in and out and had come from the grocery store and was putting things away, and he had bought a piece of meat. And David talked about how they could cook it, and clearly I believe indicating he would be a part of that process.
The reason I ask, have you ever gotten any of that type of information from David as to what he can and can't do around the household?
Not systematically, no.
We spoke to Peter Formuzes this last week, and he ascribed a figure of $2,500 on an annual basis to chore services.
I'm wondering, is that a figure that you provided to him?
That's correct. And upon what did you base that estimate?
In terms of the overall physical limitations that David reported, as well as the physical limitations that are a part of the Center for Career Evaluation record and the restrictions that Dr. Herndon has placed on him in terms of some activities.
The Center for Career
Evaluation.
That's a standardized test that you have referred to in terms of limitations.
That's the facility to which I referred David for vocational and physical tolerance assessment.
So they performed testing in this regard?
Correct. I'm glad I had a big heart and I would fall asleep.
Seriously.
You guys want more?
Oh, come on.
Erica, how old are your babies?
My oldest will be 10, and tomorrow my baby will be 3.
10? 3? Wow.